Welcome into week 6 now. The Jackson Post West Tennessee High School Football Pick'em Contest, podcasted here on Walker Talks Radio Podcasting Network. I'll tell you something right now. And I can't believe Tony has picked against these guys twice now. The JCM win at Milan. I don't know that. Did you get that right? Did you call that one last week?
Called it.
Brandon
That's
called
one
it.
of the. That's one of the.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have the best week as far as the picks. But, sometimes when you're trailing, you got to try to find the ones to catch up in. I am blown away with that. And very happy for all my Cougar friends. Tony, if I were you, I'd be very ashamed picking against JCM twice now, as they are undefeated 4-0. Incredible win. Brandon, were you at that game at all last week?
No, I was at South Gibson for the whole USJ South Gibson game because I'm going to be there for the first half for my kid and the band. And it was 10-0 at halftime. And I said before the game, I said, if this one's close, or there's one that I feel like I need to go to, and I thought for a second about going to Milan, but with the way USJ South Gibson finished, I'm okay with where I stayed.
Yeah,
Great game.
a great comeback.
Yeah,
Some big plays. I watched some video on it. 60-yard touchdown pass. I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
It was a parallel throw. It wasn't even downfield.
No, it was a screen pass or a fade or whatever. I was down the field. He ran by me about halfway through his touchdown run, so I didn't see exactly what kind of a pass it was.
It was just a parallel pass, whatever you call it when they throw it out to the flat.
Yeah.
It was kind of a screen, but screenish. Yeah.
And since we're not picking either of those teams' games this week. Just kind of talk about that for a second. And going into the fourth quarter, maybe it was during a timeout early in the fourth quarter, I'm standing on USJ's sideline, and Derek Pritchard's standing kind of close to me away from everybody else because he's the defensive coordinator there on offense. So Bo Wallace was kind of running things there for that second. So Derek kind of in the piece of that timeout for a second, he walks over to me. He says, "Brandon, I can tell you right now if we're going to win this game, if we're going to lose, but I can tell you this, both teams are going to get better from tonight's game." And sure enough, I mean, I've seen a bunch of games on that field over there, and as I'm saying that, I'm looking towards South Gibson's field from my backyard. That's about 3/4 of a mile away, and I've seen a lot of games on USJ's field. That game is on the short list for both schools for the gutsiest game that I've ever watched. South Gibson's defense, they're not going to be proud of a moral victory, but they need to be proud of the defense that they played, because think about this, y'all. Noah Spencer, he rushed for like 140 yards against Peabody in week 1. Ever since then, his lowest total has been like 243 yards. He rushed for 39 yards Friday night.
Wow.
So think about that as we're move through the season and we pick some South.
No, I totally agree with you there. And a little bit of good news for one of the Hornets, Yaya Gad. Gad, I can't say the last name correctly. Yaya, he went to Ole Miss on Saturday and did get an offer. I found out today. Ole Miss, which is awesome. He's a huge kid. You may have noticed him, Brandon, Hornet player, covered in blood out there, just
Yes.
on the field. Now, I watched that game online through Worthy Road Studio. They do a good job with that. That was a fun game. Wilson, I watched of the Westview our county game. Believable. The first time I watched Westview 4 quarters, because I thought that was going to be a very tight game. They're the real deal. They look like they're the real deal, for sure.
They definitely proved it the other night.
I think so, too. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with games that we do have the schedule this week. Now, a reminder, because we only had 2 emails in last week. I know a lot of people who listen to this podcast have already sent them in. We didn't have anybody trying to get in twice last week, but I appreciate it. We're giving away a big screen TV. Right now, I have a slim lead, but everything's still neck and neck. You pick the host, Chuck, the Hoff, Brandon, who you think's going to have the most right picks at the end of the year. And if you're right, your name goes into a hat. We draw your name out, and you win a big screen TV courtesy of Southeastern Termite Pest Control. Tony Niehoff, Remax Realty. Course. All right, so here we go. I'll start us off as I do have a 2-game lead here. Lake County 2-3, going to Humboldt, who is also 2-3. Humboldt's 0-2 region. Lake County is 1-2 in the region. I did look this game up before we got started because I knew we were kicking us off. I was kicking us off here. I'm going to Lake County. I don't really know what to say. They had 2-touchdown loss to Halls. They lost to South Fulton by 8 the week before. And of course, I think Union City put it all over South Fulton last week. Don't feel great about this game. And I'm going to go with Lake County here.
Yeah. This game, I looked at it earlier today. I think last year the score, I'm pulling it up, 58-24. They beat Humboldt. I don't see Humboldt being much better than last year. I mean, they are somewhat better. Lake County started out slow this year, I think. Let me see they won at O'Brien. They lost horribly to Dyersburg, beat Dresden, lost a close game to South Fulton, and then lost last week to Hall. So, none of them are world beaters, but I'm going to go with Lake County as well.
Too, when it comes to scoring deep. There have been a couple of times. No, I did pick them last week, and then they broke my heart. Lake County, when you're comparing scores, they're pretty similar. They're both giving up a little less than 29 points per game. Humboldt is scoring nearly 26 points per game, whereas Lake County is scoring a little more than 21. But Lake County's opposition has a record of 14-11. Plus, they're playing some bigger school teams. Whereas Humboldt, with the exception of McNary, who is 3A, I think all of their opponents, I could be wrong, but I think, no, they played Scotts Hill too. So they played 2 3A teams. No, they have not played Scotts Hill yet. Sorry. Yeah, they have. They beat them. But Lake County's bigger opponents looks more impressive. Give me the Falcons.
Moving along here, going now to Region 6 2A. This is going to be, all of a sudden, this game right here is a really tricky pick, and Hoff, you start us off. I'm very glad for that. Bulldogs, coming off a loss, where you picked against, Hoff, school that educated you and you graduated from. You picked against JCM, huge win last week. Milan. What was that final score? 47-26?
47-38.
47-38. Huge.
It was a 9-point margin. It was a pretty close game. I watched some highlights and we watched some of Coach Turner's Facebook post, and, he's really got it together.
It could play for him in a heartbeat. There's no doubt about it.
He's a great leader, and he's definitely showing that he's built that program, and they deserve the victory. I just didn't think they were quite ready, but I'm glad they proved me wrong.
Allen going to Huntington. Huntington also 3-1, had that opening loss to McKenzie, but since then they haven't lost again, and that was a good game against McKenzie as a one-score game to start the season. 33-point game, 38-35. McKenzie beat Crockett County last week, 28-21. What do you see here?
Well, I mean, these are just traditional powerhouse football programs for the last, I don't know, as long as I can remember, since the late 80s when I moved to this area. I mean, obviously, Milan disappointed me. I was thinking they were going to pull it out. When you look at last year, what happened, Milan started out 5-0. This year, they start out 4-1. Then they played Huntington last year and lost 32-14. I see it again. I think Milan may go on a little skid here, losing to JCM, and then they're going to lose to Huntington as well.
Shields, you're up.
All right, so part of me wants to pick Milan in this because they want to get the taste of the loss out of their mouth. But I think one thing that affected them in the loss is going to come back and bite them against Huntington, because I think this is going to be a close game. And when you have a close game between two good teams like this, it's going to go into the third and fourth quarters. Special teams is going to become even more important the deeper and deeper into the game, as long as the game stays close. It's what happened to Milan last week. Their kickers hurt. They didn't have a backup, and that affected them in certain situations. Also affected them in PAT. situation. And that's what allowed JCM to go up 2 scores on them late and maintain that lead toward the end. Give me the Mustangs.
In the Mustangs, I'm going to disagree with both of you. And here's why. New day in Milan, Coach Comer. I understand exactly what you're saying about special teams. I know that it's plagued them a year. The kicker out for the season? Because I thought I heard rumblings that he could be back this week for the Huntington game.
I don't think he's out for the season. But I haven't heard that he's going to be back for the Huntington game because everything that I've seen online among the fans, who I would imagine are more knowledgeable about this than any of the three of us, are saying, well, we really hope that he goes and finds a kicker before this Friday.
He should be able to find one on the soccer team. It's really
That's exactly what I was just about to say, Hoff. There's going to be somebody there, and I think they'll do it. Milan's such a special place for football. I would say the only town around here that really rivals it's probably Huntington. If you're talking about just the whole town being immersed in the football, Medina's got a great thing going. I'm talking, 20, 30, 40-year, tradition with those two schools. Take the Bulldogs here, guys. I don't see Wade Comer losing back-to-back games. I think, we're going to tell a whole lot about Milan. If they come out, they're able to get this win. They're able to get last week behind them, back-to-back losses against two good opponents, albeit that would be tough for them. I think we're going to learn a lot about Milan this week. I know Huntington got them pretty good last year, but give me the Bulldogs in this one.
After we get through recording this and we go off air, remind me to tell y'all something about the kicker that I'm not going to say on the air.
Okay, that's not a problem. We'll move on here. Our next game, Region 7 now, 3A. Brandon, you're up first. McNairy, 4-0-2 in the region, going to Bolivar. I see how you placed this strategically to get the first pick, going to Bolivar, 2-2. 2-2, 1-2 on the region. How many words will it take for you to say you're going to take Bolivar here?
I'm wearing the green shirt for a reason. I looked at which way to where I could take McNairy in this one because I like Coach Truitt, Justin Truitt, their new head coach. I consider him an actual friend. Used to go to church with him and saw him at the Milan South Gibson game in week 1. He's a former South Gibson assistant coach, and he came back to watch him when they played on Thursday night. I think Bolivar's got too much offensive power for McNairy to stop.
I'm going Bolivar here. I will say this: when you had your radio show and I heard you interview Coach Truitt, I really enjoyed him. But it just takes a minute, especially at small schools. It takes a minute to change everything.
Right.
Crockett County didn't get saved the minute P.A. Pratt walked in the doors. It took a little bit of time, but if you get the right guy, you can you certainly see the results. But yes, this is Bolivar all day long here, I believe.
Yeah, it's not hard to pick. McNairy struggled all year. I mean, they're just. I mean, I'm not really sure why. Brandon probably knows more of that since he's friends with this coach, but I don't see them win this game. Bolivar.
I have the next game here. We all went Bolivar there. Hill going into Liberty to the Crusaders. It's Scotts Hill Lions or Tigers? Why am I missing that? What is it?
Lions.
Scotts Hill 5-0-2 in the region, going to Liberty, who's 0-4, 0-2 in the region. I did not know we would ever do one of these where I was able to say these words. Give me liberty or give me death. I'm taking Liberty, the Crusaders here. The very first time in the 2 or 3 years that we've done this now, taking Liberty to win a football game against Scotts Hill.
I'm trying to think of something nice to say here. I guess both teams should be up for this game because they definitely have a chance to win. I mean, they've probably been in many games where they're like, in their mind, they're like, we're going to fight, but then halfway through the game, it's not looking good. So, I think this game's going to be competitive. Those boys in Scotts Hill are tough. I know when I refereed soccer, they were tough. So I'm going with the rural Scotts Hill to beat the city boys in Jackson.
Crusaders.
Whatever they are. Yeah.
Good grief, Tony. You probably got constituents who send their kids to school there. You might want to get their mascot.
I mean, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
The only reason I put this game on this list, y'all, is so I could also say, I'm not going to say give me Liberty or give me death because I'm not going to pick them that hard. But I'm taking the Crusaders, and here's why. Scotts Hill got beat by 14 points by Humboldt. Liberty is a comparable team to Humboldt. They just got a few more athletes. And, I mean, all three of those teams have new coaches this year. Liberty has had a rough schedule, and Scotts Hill has too. They both have. But kind of like how we were talking about with McNary earlier, and Chuck made reference to Crockett County and PA Pratt, it takes a minute to turn programs around, particularly programs that have taken a nosedive for as long and as hard as Liberty has. But the turn has to start somewhere on the scoreboard, and I think that this is the perfect opportunity for that turn to start, and I think it does start. Crusaders.
Move on. I'm so glad that we literally got to pick a Liberty game where I'm called it, because I mean, we're years removed from taking Liberty every single week. Everybody who did these, Brandon, I know you were doing at the time. You take Liberty every single week they play. It's just,
Yep.
you'd love to see them come back. All right, going now, Region 6, 4A, outside in 3. They opened up the season with a win at Ripley. Had a tough game against JCM. Had the lead at halftime, but lost that one 30-14. Lost Crockett County 19-13. And then last week, Chester County came in to the Hawks Nest and beat them by 2 touchdowns. They're going to Lexington. Lexington, they too have struggled this year with the new coach, and they're going to throw the ball a lot more. They had a big win against Scotts Hill to open the season 48-0, but since then they haven't done a lot. Although they did put up some points, their second highest point total in the season against Memphis Business. This game is in Lexington. Picked against Southside last week, and it did me well. Lexington looks like they're starting to get comfortable putting points on the board. Now, this is the tough pick. I'm going with the Hawks. I have more customers in South Jackson than I do in Lexington, although we're growing there. But give me the Hawks here.
It is a tough pick. This team, again, this is an even matchup. I mean, if you look at the points scored, Lexington scores more points, but Southside plays better defense. Last year's matchup looks like they played last year.
Yes, they did. I mean, they were in the same region. I was there.
35-14.
And that was Southside's homecoming. That was a lot of people were unhappy with Southside rolling over last year.
Yeah. 35-14 is rough. Man, this is one of the ones that I've been kind of undecided all day as I was looking at it. I'm gonna go with the Hawks too. That was my gut. I just feel like that they've lost some games that they could have won, and I think they're gonna come out fighting. I'm going with the Hawks, but I'm not really confident in this pick. But I have customers that went to Southside, so I need to redeem myself with the Madison County people.
You're up.
So both of y'all took Southside?
Yep.
All right. See, here's where I can benefit from what I do. I'm usually, particularly when you're trying to pick even games, even if it's not an even game, even if it's 0-9 versus 9, I pride myself on being able to come up with a reason why 0-9 can beat 9, because I was planning on taking Southside in this one. But since both of y'all took Southside, I want to try to make up a game here. And I want to take Lexington, and here's why. Because Lexington, since they started off by just waxing what we have now figured out to be a very inferior Scotts Hill team, 48-0, they hit rock bottom in week 2 and scored no points and didn't move the ball at all. Then they scored 6 the next week against Crockett. Then they scored 21 the next week against Northside. Then they scored 28 last week. The points are going up. And if you look at Southside, let me get to them.
Got it right
They're
here.
they're scoring 16, 14, 13, and 20. They're not scoring a lot. So I'm going to take Lexington to keep the trend going because Derek Carr knows offense and the kids are starting to get on his line of thinking. And I mean, I'd love it if Southside were to win and I get this one wrong, but I also need to make up a game on y'all. So give me the Tigers.
Like it when we have different picks. All right. Who is up now? I get off of it here. Is this
Brandon's up now.
ending up? Good. Crockett County, a homeland. Going to Dyer County, who I did watch play last week. Both teams 4-1. Neither one of them have played a region game yet. This game is in Dyer County. Both teams have turf fields, so that's not going to be a big issue. Visiting team. Teams 4-1. Westview looked very impressive against Dyer County. What do you think here, Brandon?
I want to go with Crockett County just because Kevin Ward is one of my favorite people among high school football coaches around here. And I mean, I remember last year when we picked this game, I said Crockett County's season up to this point had pretty much mirrored last year. They went undefeated. They lost to Huntington. And then I thought they were going to come out at home and have a big game to get that loss behind them. And they were going to win. Somebody help me out here. Crockett County seemingly had the game won, and then there was some kind of weird call at the end that gave Dyer County a second chance at a score or something like that. Is that right?
That's 100% correct. Yes, and there was a lot of, if you still follow Crockett County fan pages like I do, they weren't happy with that.
And for that reason, I want to say Crockett County is going to come out mad and put another blemish on Dyer County's record. But Dyer County's been playing, has put some decent teams down pretty hard, whereas Crockett County's wins, some of them have not been as dominant as they should have been Southside. And
you're taking the Cats?
No, I'm taking
next. Crockett County. Kevin Ward is my third favorite Kevin that I know. He's a good man. He's a good football coach. There's no doubt about it. County's still really good.
Kevin Spacey and what other Kevins are ahead of him? That's what I'm curious.
Little Kevin. He's my favorite Kevin. Little Kevin. But I will say this. County's still a really good team. I think Martin Westview is a really, really, really good team. County made plays. They're bigger. I've watched Crockett County Northside game. I watched that. I think Crockett County's pretty outmatched here. As sad as that is, I'm certainly rooting for the Cavaliers, but I'm trying to win this thing going Choctaws.
Yeah, this one was one when I pulled the list up that Brandon sent. I was like, Choctaws all day. I mean, they until they show us that they've got some weaknesses. They have pretty much steamrolled the competition, the inferior teams, and then the teams that are, better. They've handled business, so I'm gonna roll with them too.
Now we move on to our non-region games. This is where Brandon, who selects our games for us to pick, gets a little tricky. You know what he was doing here? I was hoping the Hoff would go first this time. But the way math works, it's my turn. Fairleigh, 4-0. Going into Covington, who is 5-0. Everybody knows how good Covington has been over the past few years. But because no one could find Fairleigh on a map, 4-0, that's supposed to intimidate us. Hoff would have gone with Fairleigh had I not made this pick first. This is Covington. This is the Chargers. You can take Covington a lot. Covington looks very dominant this year. Give me the Chargers.
No, I had Covington. I looked it up to figure out Fairleigh's out of Nashville or that area, aren't they?
Where you don't know where they're from. You just always say Middle Tennessee, and you're right.
I thought they were out of Nashville, or maybe it was another team.
Yeah,
Brandon
they
picked.
are, like Middle Tennessee somewhere.
No, Fairleigh is Memphis.
Is it?
Yeah.
Usually you just say Middle Tennessee if you don't know and you're right. Okay, so
I know.
No. I'm just saying, like, the rule is, I think it's a Middle Tennessee team. Okay, so they're out of Memphis.
Now we do pick a Middle Tennessee team here in a couple of picks. So
Okay, that's the other one. Okay, yeah, then that's what I was looking at. Well, let me look at it here. Fairleigh is, let's see here.
4-0.
They're
They're
4-0?
undefeated, Hoff.
They are 4-0. That's
Good one to
correct.
take a chance on.
hey,
They've
Doug,
scored.
let's just sit here silently and let's watch Tony do his research. Let's get.
I mean, I've already looked into it. I know what I'm going to pick. I'm
Tell,
just
it's
trying
very
to create some
apparent.
content here.
Dude, you don't
Very-
even know where Fairleigh is. How much research did you do today?
I did a little bit. Let me just say this. Fairleigh is out of Memphis. They are out of Memphis. Wow, I've never even heard of them. That's interesting.
They've had some
No.
decent teams in the past 16 years that I've been
They're
here.
not bad. I mean, when you look at what they played, I mean, they blew out St. George's, which is really they're good at soccer. They blew out KPP Collegiate, KIPP, Oak Haven. They really haven't played anybody. North Forest Point Christian was a Kentucky Georgia score of 12-7. I mean, Covington's really good. I don't know how you can look at the schedule and think that they're going to beat Covington, but you know what I mean. I'm going with Covington. That's obvious.
All right, so I will say that the close game with North Point Christian does concern me a little bit. But after Tony took an hour and a half to make that pick, I'm going to go ahead and just get to the point. I'm fairly certain Covington's going to win.
No pun
I
intended.
see what you did there. Very well played. Very well played. But I do appreciate you putting a team we're not that familiar with on there that's undefeated, making us think about it there, Brandon. Good job.
I do like learning about new teams because I just didn't. Now I probably heard of them, but it's been.
And here's
I've
what you're
slept since then.
thinking. Drove to Indianapolis over the weekend to see the Colts game. Fairview is what you're thinking because that's an exit off the interstate in Middle Tennessee. That's
Good
thinking
call.
too. Fairview. That's
Good
what
call.
I thought too, Tony.
Yeah.
That's why, Fairview. This next one, Hoff, you are up here. North side, 4-1, going to Dyersburg, who has the coolest stadium in all of West Tennessee. 3-2. This is a non-region matchup. You like here, Hoff?
I mean, honestly, I like both teams. I think either team could win this game. I mean, who I want to pick is. I went back and forth. Dyersburg being the home team, I give a little bit of an advantage there. I'm not sure, who's got the momentum. I mean, both schools have had some big victories and some bad losses because I've been back and forth. But the Hawks going to go with Dyersburg and the home team here. Northside, I think we'll just not lose a nail biter, I guess, probably by a touchdown or so.
Looking at Dyersburg's schedule, they lost big to Dyer County week 1, and Covington doubled them up in week 3, 30-15. They're 3 wins, and I forget who all they played. I think Lake County or Union City was one of them, maybe Lake County too.
Bolivar, McNary, and Lake County for their
Thank
3
you.
wins.
48-6, 36-0, 38-6. Northside is going to score more points than any of those teams did. So I don't know. I'm wondering how Dyersburg does when a team keeps punching them in the mouth. And y'all may remember, this game was a whole lot closer than it should have been last year. I said earlier that I was at the Southside Lexington game last year. Well, I left that game at halftime because Lexington was dominating that one so hard, and we were starting to get reports that Northside's beating Dyersburg. So I got on Highland Avenue and got north just in case that one went the way no one saw it
21-13.
coming. Yeah, and I think it was 14-13 when I walked in there. Northside played them well last year when they weren't supposed to. I think Northside gets the win. I think it may be close, but it won't surprise me if it's not.
I think Northside's got the best athlete on the field. I'm drawing a blank on his name now. He's got an offer from
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, thank you. I know his mom, Sarah. I think they have the best athlete on the field. He's got a little bit more to play for. Sweet. I'm going to take Northside here. I'm going to take the Indians here.
Good. Maybe I'll make up a game on you.
Little bit of trivia about Javonte. He got another SEC offer over the weekend from Missouri when he made a trip there. And I don't know if he's going to get an offer this weekend, but I have been told he will be at the Bama-Georgia game.
Oh, he may get 2 offers.
Yep.
Good for him.
That's big time.
Great athlete, heck of an athlete. And imagine being a high school kid with offers from Missouri, Tennessee, possibly Alabama, Georgia. That'd be a lot of fun. Good for him. And yeah, I think he's the best athlete on the field. I'm going to go with Northside here. All right, our next game, still staying at all these games that we're picking now are going to be non-region games. Maplewood, I thought was a nursing home. Maplewood 2-3 going to Haywood 4-1. I only know something about one of these teams. Whose turn is it to pick?
Brandon.
All right, I'll go ahead and apologize to y'all. I'm not sure because originally I had 15 games to pick and I took 3 off. I'm not sure why I took those 3 off and didn't take this one off because Maplewood was 2-3 against Haywood 4-1. Maplewood is a decent program. I mean, they're an athletic team. I've seen them in some playoff games against Liberty and against some good Liberty teams in the past, and played them with some good competition. They could do the same thing with Haywood this week, but I've got Haywood coming out with that win.
I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. Haywood's the only school I know anything about. I feel very comfortable. Haywood and Covington, I always feel comfortable picking. You can go ahead and throw Westview into that mix. I'm probably going to take them. Give me the Tomcats.
Yeah, let's keep this rolling. It's Haywood's going to win this at home against the Maplewood something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Cardinals.
Trees.
Are they really the Cardinals?
Oh, I have no idea. But I mean, I could totally live in a world where that was the case.
Actually, since Stanford's mascot is a tree, yeah, I guess we could call, and they're the Cardinal. I guess we can call Maplewood the Cardinal too.
No S, which
I
is
can
really
try
weird.
to find them, but
Cardinal with no S is really odd for Stanford. I don't know why they do that. I find it a little pretentious. But they did not ask me. All right, here we go. Next game, Peabody 2-3. Oh, they've had losses to USJ in the year. Who else has gotten Peabody's number? I'm trying to find them here on
Jackson Christian, Riverside.
Christian and Riverside. But since then, they've got a couple of wins. Going to Mace. Now, I do know something. Mace is out of Memphis, and I do know something about Mace in the past. They've had some very, very good teams here. This is going to be a heart pick, and I think Shane Jacobs is, top 5 coach in West Tennessee. Peabody.
It's a tough pick. I mean, I did look at this. I think last year they did play.
Mm-hmm. Mates won.
Yeah, they did.
Handily, I think.
48-7.
Yep, that's handily.
That's quite a bit. So, with that being said, I'm going to pick a game on Chuck, and we're going to go with Mace. They're going to Mace Peabody, the old school way.
Mace is not as good as they were last year, and I think Peabody has turned a corner. That could be totally influenced by the fact that I spent a whole half of a middle school football game Thursday night talking with their defensive coordinator, Tab Val, and when I would talk with him or Shane Jacobs for a little while, I'm ready to run through a wall after that.
Notice you were fired up when you came over.
I was fired up, yeah, because after I got through with him, I came over and hung out with you and a few other of our mutual buddies. And actually, I beat a couple of them up, Tony, before we left, just because I was just so fired up. So, yeah, give me the Golden Tide, and let's just say Tony and Mace will be crying with their eyes burning after that game.
Well, I don't know. Your record for the year is not going so well, my friend.
Your record for the year is not going so well, my friend.
Not how you start, it's how you finish. He was down 8 games last year and had to go to a tiebreaker, Tone. You may want to.
He did come back last year. That's true.
Don't make me find another Republican to run against you.
Comes the Rhino claims. All right, our next game, and Hoff.
Sorry, Tony, I didn't mean it.
This is you, Hoff. Dresden in 4 going to O'Bine County. The Rebels, team that I perennially pick against, although this Dresden team is not what Dresden teams normally are, what we have thought of in the past. You're up first here. What are you thinking, Hoff?
Now, Dresden only lost 1 game all of last year. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, in the state semifinals to McKenzie.
I mean, what's wrong with Dresden, Brandon? I mean, did
Oh,
they lose the whole team or something?
Well, they had 24 seniors last year.
Okay.
When you're
Well,
in
that
1A
explains
and
a
you
lot.
got 24 seniors, that's huge.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. I mean, yeah, when you look,
And Coach Hodge did leave to go to McKenzie. So
yeah, 24 seniors and your coach, that explains a lot. I mean, both these teams are struggling. Dresden has given up 206 points, scored 77, and O'Brien has given up 198 and scored 83. So that's not the way you want your statistics to read for both programs. I'm gonna go with Dresden. I mean, I think these guys have to win something eventually. So go with Dresden.
but they beat Humboldt last week.
They did. They finally did. Yeah.
44-26 got on the board, Brandon.
When you got one bad team against another bad team and one's 4A, the other one's 1A, the safe bet is to go with the 4A. So give me the safe bet, give me the Rebels. I think they win.
It's tough. You're right. That's a good, because I was going all in for the Lions. I was like, you know what, Lions. I made up my mind. Lions.
You should stay all in for the Lions. Look at my record. I suck this year. Don't pick the same as me, Chuck.
It's true. I mean, O'Brien's only
That is true.
full
You only got 9 right last week out of like 14.
You know what? I'm staying with that. I'm a bigger fan of Dresden than I am O'Brien County. Plus, their football field's kind of hard to get to, but it's cool when you get back there. But it's kind of hard to get to. You got to park kind of behind the school, walk around with it. Give me Dresden. Give me the Lions just for the parking, if nothing else.
All right.
In our last high school game, one Riverside, only loss on the season to Collierville. Wait, am I right with that? Did they bring Collierville 4-1 going to TCA? TCA scoring a lot.
Actually, they're not.
They're not 4-1?
No, they're not going to TCA. It was.
They're playing at a college stadium, right?
Yeah, they're going to Bethel.
Yes, you're right about that.
I saw that
Who
today.
agreed to know that Diamond Dave calls their games and he also calls Bethel's games? TCA agreed to move that game, I suppose?
I mean, they had to. I mean, they're the home team. It's their call, particularly since it's a non-region game. But I imagine both teams wanted to play it, particularly after last year, because this was another game that no one thought going in would be close. And there for a minute, TCA was up by 2 scores in Parsons, I think in the third quarter. And before Riverside came back to win. Just with inclement weather expected for Friday night, Dexter Williams, the athletic director of TCA, sent out a thing saying, yeah, we're going to play at Bethel. I'm assuming that Dave McCauley didn't make this decision unilaterally. He's an associate AD, but he's not the AD. But, I mean, they've got a turf field, so if Bethel's got a home game on Saturday and it does rain a ton, it shouldn't matter on Saturday at all. So, yeah.
What's your pick? Yeah, you're right. I've read that in the Post today, and I forgot about it already.
Yeah. I'm going to take Riverside. I mean, I'd like to take TCA, and I do wonder if TCA may have something up their sleeve. This game, I've already talked about how this game was close last year when it shouldn't have been. This game last year was kind of the coming out party for TCA because they hadn't done anything up to this point last year that they wasn't supposed to do. Maybe the win over Chester County in week 1 last year, but they lost to USJ. They had beaten everybody else. Nobody was really that great. The receiver had nearly broken the TWSAA record against Fayette Academy, but, nothing really to write home about. And then they go to a known state title contender that everybody was expecting to probably win the state championship, and they had them down by 2 scores in the second half on their home field. And while they didn't hold on to that lead, that did show themselves, hey, we are playing the way Darren Boland is coaching us to. And it actually gave us a chance to win a game that nobody gave us a shot to win. And after that, you started to see the gears kind of turn a little more for physical play and stuff, and you saw the TCA program really turn around. But at the end of the day, Riverside still won. And at the end of the day, this year, Riverside going to win again.
You know, be nice here, this pick. Because I know that the Hall has a lot of his constituents that are in the Trinity area.
Mm-hmm.
Going to take Riverside to allow him to catch up on a game when he chooses a Jackson school. Give me Riverside here. I do remember that game. I remember where I was. I was in South Haven in a hotel room. My son had a travel tournament, watching this game in a hotel room in disbelief. Also thinking Riverside has a really cool football field. Watching this game in disbelief last year, and Trinity had that lead on them. I'm gonna go with Riverside here. The Hall, because he goes to a lot of TCA games. He is a big supporter of theirs. He has a lot of friends that go there. Justin Vales, his son Cooper, and I know that the Hall likes Cooper and respects his family, is the quarterback there at Trinity. And again, the whole constituent thing. If you have picked against JCM twice this year, I'm sure now you would like to go with a Jackson school.
What
Good
are you
night,
trying to
everybody.
hypnotize me? I mean, you gonna pick for me?
Oh, no, I'm setting you up. I'm letting you get a game back here, Hoff. Go ahead.
Now, how many houses is Southeastern treated in my district as well? That
We've treated them all, and bills are forthcoming.
What does that have to do with any of what you just said? None of that makes any sense. Other than you're right, I do like the Vales family, and Cooper's played really well for an undersized quarterback. I'm proud of him.
Tough as nails.
And last year, Brandon's right. Last year, they really, they were up by 14, and I don't know how they lost that game at the end. Gave up 16 points. Was it turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, because after I left Southside and was headed for Northside, one of our local radio stations that does almost an NFL red zone type broadcast on Friday night. That was pretty much the game that I was listening to on that station all the way from Southside to Northside. And I think Riverside scored a touchdown to cut the lead to 7 late in the third quarter at that point. And I never heard another score again until after Northside and Dyersburg was over and Riverside had come back. So
right. Well, you should giving up a lead. A 14-point lead in the fourth quarter is not, and losing sucks. I can just tell that. I'm sure third quarter and the fourth quarter. They didn't score any points in the fourth quarter, and Riverside scored 16 and lost by 2 points.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't kick extra points, but I guess they just didn't want to do that. Well, as much as Chuck is trying to get me to pick TCA,
you up to get a game back.
I don't really think that they're going to win this game, though. See, that's the thing. I'm trying to win this contest. That's the idea here, to be the best at the picking of games. And Riverside they're getting better. I think every game. I mean, they lost to Collierville by 10 points. Smoked Lexington, beat a solid Peabody team, smoked Gibson County, and smoked Camden Central. So they probably haven't played the hardest schedule. They're fixing to get into a harder, Trinity, Huntington, JCM, Milan. They definitely have a tough schedule with Adamsville popped in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they better start I don't know, man. I really think that they're going to win this game. I really, if I were Trinity, I almost would prefer to have it at home, to have the home field advantage. I'm kind of surprised they moved it. I mean, I'm not trying to discount their choice, but
show up to McKinney. But that Maria's restaurant that's so good.
I'm just saying Riverside's going to win. It's going to be a good game again, but I don't think Trinity's going to win. So I'm sorry, guys.
Well, that's okay. And before we get into our SEC pick, I need to make a note. Email this directly to Justin Vales. Okay. All right. So now
you have broken the hearts of everybody on Windy City Road.
It's all right. I picked TCA this year, so it's not like I picked against them a lot. So.
Yeah, you had a shot just now. All right, Tony, you have come up with an SEC game. We'll pick first. It is my turn now. We'll pick first. You have come up with Georgia going to the Bryant-Denny Stadium, going to Alabama, Georgia,
Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
the wasn't a Saban Field. Yeah, they should just go ahead and call that Saban everything there in Alabama. The turnaround he gave you guys when y'all were nothing. We'll say this: 2.5 points. Georgia, the road team in the SEC, 2.5 point favorite. Take the points here and pick Bama, but I think Bama wins this game right. I'll take the points. Give me Alabama here. All of a sudden, everybody starts forgetting Nick Saban and loving DeBoer. Give me Bama here to win this.
I tell you what, it's going to be a great
case. Give me the points too. I need the 2.5.
Yeah, we're rolling with points on this. So yeah, I mean, I respect your pick. I tell you one thing: whenever the lines came out for Alabama the first 2 weeks against Western Kentucky, 31, I was like, Alabama's going to smoke Western Kentucky, 31. They may have that by halftime, and I think they almost did.
38-7 is smoking them.
Yeah, so Alabama has not lost a step without Saban. They've just really truthfully. Their quarterback is playing better this year. He's his second year as a full starter, and Alabama. I think they're going to win by eventually 8 to 10 points in this matchup. I think they're going to show Georgia that they're a better team.
All right, so
I'll take the points too.
Always take the points.
I'm about to show y'all how ignorant I am of betting lines and stuff like that. Like, I know that Georgia is picked to win by 2 points or something.
0.5, 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. All right. So when we're picking against the spread, I mean, are we saying that I could see Georgia winning, but by less than 2.5? So technically, ours still to win.
20-18 and Georgia wins, you would pick Bama because of 2.5.
If I had taken Bama, I would still win the bet, even though Bama loses.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if they win 21-18, Georgia would win because it's over 2.5.
Right.
They always put that hook on there, that half-point hook. You see that a lot, especially when evenly matched teams.
Right. All right. Well, either way, I mean,
you're going to pick Bama. You're a Bama guy.
Well, just because I'm a Bama guy doesn't mean I'm going to pick them to win. I mean,
true, it's a tough game. I mean, Georgia's a good football team.
What if I have constituents in Alabama, but I don't think they're going to win?
I mean, you got to go with what you think. Georgia can easily beat Alabama. I mean, I just think that Alabama's got the edge with the quarterback.
What if I sold a house in Alabama, or what if I had killed all the bugs in a house in Alabama? But I don't think they're going to win.
Subscriber to the Post in Georgia. I mean, it's a lot to consider.
Actually, there are a couple of subscribers to the Post in Georgia. Well, they're from Jackson, and they're like, "Oh, there's actual news in Jackson now. Mail that to me." I'm like, "Okay."
How about that?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm taking Bama. I mean, anyone who wants to make an argument for Georgia, it's believable. It's logical. Picking Georgia to win sounds, yeah, go for it. Bama looked shaky in the South Florida game, but then Georgia looked shaky against the baseball school? Is it a baseball school they played a couple of weeks ago, or
Kentucky,
or the volleyball cheerleading school?
We're a volleyball and a cheerleading school, but we're well
swimming
rounded.
is what you are known for here lately. So you're a swimming school.
You know what happened though? Factually, not joking aside, is they were missing 2 or 3 of their rotating defensive linemen against Kentucky, and 2 of their linemen played like almost every snap. So that cost them against Kentucky because Kentucky actually wore their defensive line down and was able to run the ball a little bit.
All right, yeah, that'll do something. Also, you are a swimming school now. Anyways.
But I think those guys will be back. It weren't like they were out for the year, so I don't know. I haven't read the injury. There are real injury updates now. They have to do that in college. Have you guys noticed that?
For the betting, you can think DraftKings.
Yep. Well, I mean, if people are losing thousands of dollars, then they want to know who's playing, right?
Or they could just not bet on college games.
They could not, but obviously it happened.
Money in college, you do in the NFL, Brandon. Right now, dogs are 3-13 on the year, so you make more money in college.
NFL is so close. I don't recommend picking the NFL and gambling,
Brandon.
So, can I do what Pat McAfee did at the SEC championship last year, where he sung the whole Georgia song and had all the Georgia fans going. And while they're barking, he's like, "Give me Alabama."
Good. But then you need to take like a giant gummy before you get on the camera.
There's that too. Also, I mean, and this is a semi-serious thing. I saw a graphic last week during the Bama game, or two weeks ago, and they were looking at they had the big lead on Wisconsin. They were looking ahead to the Georgia game, and it showed all the games that Bama and Georgia played in the last 5 years or so. Every game that they played the last few years, one regular season game, and the other like 6 were either SEC championship or national championship games. Alabama has won every one of those games except one. So there could be some kind of mental block there for these Georgia guys. And if that is the case, I like Alabama's chance.
Everybody going with Alabama. That pick. So we had a lot of agreement tonight, but there were a couple of disagreements along the way, which is good. Makes for a more fun next week. All right, same time, same place next week. This has been Week 6, Jackson Post, West Tennessee High School Pickle Contest.